Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. Just want to let everybody on social media know that the show is on and about to get started.
Your customers can reach out to you almost.
What's going on, C-Man, Sean S., Leah Thomas? Glad to see you here. And tonight's live stream is related to something my father told me many years ago, and that is to take care of your job. And that's the title of tonight's live stream: Why You Need to Take Care of Your Job. Because when it comes down to your job is how you make your money, and your job is how you take care of yourself. And if you are a man out here, you know that your job is your primary source of income. So you need to make every effort out here to take care of your job so that your job can take care of you. And that's the thing that I'm seeing these days. A lot of guys are not understanding about jobs these days, because I'm seeing a lot of stories in the news these days that are very troubling to me, because I just recently read a story here in the Bronx in the Kingsbridge section where a man had an $82,000 a year job, and he went, because he was so caught up in his emotions and angry about being told what to do by a new boss. He took out a pistol. He took a pistol to work, and he shot his supervisor. And because this man did not have the proper male life skills and survival skills, what he did was he put his ability to make money at risk, and he put his freedom at risk by shooting this man on the job, all because he was a supervisor and he was telling him what to do. So, this man, when I read the story, he clearly didn't understand what any father out here would tell his son about taking care of his job, because he was too caught up in his feelings about the workplace and the people on the job. And that's one of the things that when you don't have anybody to teach you to take care of your job, you don't really understand, because a guy who is caught up in his feelings, he's going to go out here and he's going to blow a really good job like this guy had working for the New York City Housing Authority, making $82,000 a year, a job that could practically provide someone with a middle class lifestyle, retirement benefits, and enable him to go out here and be able to live very comfortably. He threw all of that away because he didn't know how to control himself in a workplace. And one of the things that you have to understand when you enter a workplace, if you hope to take care of a job, is you have to understand how to be indifferent. Now, indifference is a frame of thinking that when you have it on the job, it means that you're not going to get your emotions attached to this workplace. Because an indifferent person, they're going to say, this, I don't own anything here. I don't control anything here. So, what I need to do is focus on the tasks of whatever my supervisor tells me to do and make sure I do that work to the best of my ability. It's not for me to bring my feelings into the workplace because my feelings don't matter in somebody else's workplace when they own the workplace and they are giving me the privilege of working here. And that's another frame of thinking that you're going to need if you want to keep a job, is understanding that, again, you don't own anything here and you are given a privilege of working here. So, what you're going to do is just focus on the tasks at hand that you were assigned to, focus on the duties that you are given in the workplace, and focus on your goals as related to that workplace, whether it be trying to build up some new skills or get some work experience, and let that be that. Don't get involved in anything as related to things. Well, I'm going to get to that later. The office politics, the gossip, leave all of that stuff alone. And you remain indifferent and you just focus on doing what you need to do. And when you focus on what you need to do, that's the foundation of keeping the job. Your main focus is you are going to remain indifferent about this job. You're not going to bring your emotions into the workplace. You're not going to bring all of those feelings into the workplace because a workplace is a place of business and it's a place where you are going to make money. And this is another thing about keeping a job. You have to understand what your priorities are in a workplace, and your main priority at that job is to make that money, and your main priority is to stack those chips so that you can be able to build a savings and be able to have finances, financial resources to take care of yourself and take care of your bills. Glad to see you here, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. I'm getting started on the stream, and this one, again, is about how you take care of your job. And I went over the first point of taking care of a job, which is you have to have an indifferent attitude to the workplace because the indifferent attitude will allow you to not get yourself emotionally involved in the dramas going in the workplace. What you have to do whenever you hear or see drama in the workplace is pay it no attention and then just focus on taking care of your business and making sure that you are going to make sure that those paychecks keep coming with your name on it. Now, the second thing you have to do when you are in a workplace in order to keep a job is you have to learn how to navigate through your emotions. And a big problem with a lot of guys and girls out here is that they want to get emotional in the workplace. You'll often hear a lot of females in HR often talking about how they want you to have all of this enthusiasm. And again, they're coming from the female perspective, which is emotional. And then you have these guys out here who want to bring their emotions into the workplace. And that's something you definitely don't want to do because emotional people, they don't really focus on the long term. They only focus on their feelings. And when people focus on their feelings, what they do is act on their impulses. And when they act on their impulses, what happens is they participate in behavior that not only puts the company at risk for some sort of incident that they can be liable for, but it also can hurt a company's reputation and brand. And a person can also participate in actions that wind up harming people on the job and harming themselves. So One of the ways you avoid doing that is learning how to navigate through your emotions. And yes, while you may feel certain things, you just don't act on them. And when I was working at the science library at the City College of New York and working at jobs that require customer service, like I was working as a grocery bagger and food emporium in the 1990s, and I was working as a project coordinator at Strive and AmeriCorps Vista, and I was doing presentations. I had to keep my emotions in check because when you're dealing with the public, you can't take things personally. And I see a lot of people these days, they tend to take things personally, like that beta male I just discussed earlier, who lost the $80,000 a year, over 82,000, well, $82,000 a year job because he didn't know how to navigate through his emotions, and he didn't understand that yes, you may have issues with these people, but you need this job in order to make your paper. So you need to keep your emotions in check to keep that paper flowing, and you need to keep your emotions in check so that you can be able to live comfortably with this good job. So a lot of times when you're in customer service, you're going to be running into a lot of people with attitudes, a lot of people being who want to get personal. And what you have to do, again, is pull back and not engage them with emotion, because if you engage them with emotions, what you're going to do is react in a way that winds up putting your job at risk and puts your ability to make a living at risk. Because when I've worked, again, customer service, I've dealt with unruly customers, I've dealt with unruly clients, and I've dealt with people with attitudes. And again, you can't let them phase you, because you got to leave whatever they say right where it's there and keep moving. A big problem with a lot of people these days is that they start internalizing the things people say to them. They start taking things personally on the job as related to the angry customers or the clients with bad attitudes. And what you have to do is let that stuff roll off you and not take it personally. You have to say, okay, that's how they are feeling, but I cannot act based on what they are feeling, because there is just too much to lose as related to not only this company I'm representing's brand or reputation, but it's also my professional reputation. And excuse me, I have too much to lose to get into it with this person who I may only see for about 1 or 2 minutes. And if I'm working in retail at a front desk, or to get into it with this client, I may see maybe once a month or maybe once a week. They're not worth getting into it with, because there's a bigger picture, and that bigger picture is your professional career, your professional reputation, and your ability to make money. And you need to think about those things most of all whenever you're in a workplace, because this is about you making a living, and it's not about them and their issues. Let them go their way, but you make sure that your paper is taken care of and your money is taken care of. Don't worry about them. You focus on you. And sometimes, yeah, these people are going to upset you. They are going to frustrate you, but if you need a minute, then you need a minute. You take that minute and cool down and think about what you could lose, because this person isn't going to lose at the end of the day. If you get into it with them, you're going to lose, and what you're going to lose is your ability to make a living. So in taking care of your job, one of the things you have to do is learn how to navigate through those emotions so that you don't wind up doing anything to hurt the job that allows you to make a living. So that's something you definitely need to do if you're working in a job with has anything to do with the public, like customer service, teaching, sales, or even management, anything people oriented. You have to, again, have that indifference and then learn how to navigate through your emotions. And you have to learn how to keep control over your feelings, because acting on feelings can lead to you putting your ability to make a living at risk. Now, the other thing you want to do in order to take care of your job is watch how you deal with coworkers, because this is what can jam up a lot of people on these jobs where you're working, is that you have to deal with these coworkers. And a lot of these coworkers, a lot of these guys, some of them are not thinking about the big picture. Again, you have people in the workplace and they're not taking the workplace seriously. And I remember a guy on Facebook sent me an article about a guy who had gotten a UPS job. And instead of him focusing on the job and just doing the job and making the money, he started stealing packages from UPS. So he messed up a very good job, even though it was temporary. He messed it up by going out here and stealing from the company. And that was something that it made me shake my head, because this was a good job, but he messed it up. And he messed it up because he thought he could get over on a good job and hustle people on this good job. So thought he could do, and he wound up messing up a good job. And another guy got a good job at Wells Fargo, and he messed up a good job making good money because he decided to steal money out of the bank, and he messed up a very good job. And I looked at both of those incidents and I said to myself, these two guys messed up a good job because they were only thinking about the short term and they weren't thinking about the long term. And when you have guys who think about the short term, they wind up losing in the long term. Even though, and again, in the case of the UPS job, this was a job that, yeah, it was only for a little while, but the whole thing is, it's like my father used to say, something is better than nothing. And you could take that again and use that as a reference to get something else. And in the case of the Wells Fargo, he decided to mess up a good job in a bank that could have really built up his reputation, because if you work in a bank and you can be trusted with money, then people know they can trust you with other types of high secure jobs. And this guy messed up a good job because he didn't know how to take care of a job, and he didn't appreciate, again, the opportunity that was given to him. Now, I'm going to get back to that point about these coworkers, because the coworkers out here, you have to watch out for a lot of them, because they will, if you get into it with these people, they can wind up costing you a good job, because a lot of these people, what they are toxic. Now, some people, they come with this whole idea of a family, like Gia Girl has mentioned. And again, that's a gynocentric viewpoint of the workplace. So when you have people talking about the family, that's not what a workplace is. A workplace is an indifferent environment. It's a professional environment. And everyone in a workplace is competing with you in the workplace. And everybody here is not having your best interests at heart. So there is no family in a workplace. People are just working together to meet a goal in a workplace, which is taking care of the business and everybody's goal here is to make money. Now, you'll have females trying to make it into a family, but it's not meant to be a family. A business is a place of employment. It's a place where people make their money, and it's a place where everybody needs to understand, again, you are competing with these other people. So in order to advance in the organization, and you are trying your best to try to build a foundation for making your own living there. So it's not a place where you're going to be in a family, because that's just not how it works. And the toxic coworkers, they will try to make it like it's a family, and they'll try to be friends with you. And what that does is that blurs boundaries, and it leads to you becoming vulnerable to a group of workplace predators. Now, I talked about these workplace predators in my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace. And you can find that book on Kindle right now on Amazon. And that book will teach you a lot about the workplace predators in the workplace. You can get that on Kindle right now. You can also get it in paperback. I'm going to leave a link to that in the chat. And this is a book that has transformed a lot of people's lives regarding the workplace. And I'm going to go over these, toxic workers. Now, one of the toxic people in the work environment you would deal with is this workplace simp. And this workplace simp, again, he's a guy, he's looking to use the workplace to blend the boundaries of business and pleasure. He's the guy who calls himself dating female coworkers. He's the guy getting involved with women in the workplace. And he's the guy, he's not taking care of his job. He thinks that the job is supposed to take care of him. And because he blurs the boundaries of the workplace, what happens is he's the guy who winds up getting caught up either in a bad case of sexual harassment because he gets involved, trying to get involved with women in the workplace, or what happens to your workplace simp is he winds up getting involved in a relationship with a female in the workplace, and they wind up jamming him up politically and socially, and they wind up putting leverage on him because he's gotten involved with them in a relationship and he's afraid of people going to HR on him. So your workplace simp, he's in the workplace. He's not there to take care of his job and take care of his ability to make a living. What he wants to do is he wants to go out here and use the workplace like a nightclub and be out here dating women on the job, not understanding that when you do that, in this era of Me Too, you are practically putting your job in jeopardy, and you are getting ready to wind up not only getting yourself fired, but rendering yourself unemployable. Now, another workplace predator you have to watch out for is your office pervert. And this is the guy, he's on the websites, on the workplace computers, looking at porn. He's the guy making all sorts of statements towards the women in the workplace. And this is a guy that most men need to avoid, because if you're associated with that guy, you're going to wind up getting fired. And if this guy is anywhere near your equipment, he's probably going to be using it to download porn or some sort of materials. And again, that could lead to you winding up losing your job, because if IT goes in your workplace history, they're going to find that information, and you're going to wind up losing your job because he's been on your computer, and you can't prove that he's been on your computer because you let him in, you let him use your password, and then everything is coming back to you. So that's something you really need to think about, again, with the office pervert. And that's a guy you really need to avoid. And he'll be able easily to identify because he's the one always talking about girls he's getting with and talking about stuff he has done sexually. And this is the kind of stuff you really want to, when you hear that stuff, start putting some distance between yourself and that guy, because that guy is sooner or later going to lose his job, and everybody who's associated with him is going to lose their job. So office pervert, you want to stay as far away from this guy as far as you can, and you want to avoid him at whenever you hear from him. Now, the worst predator you want to avoid is the workplace mangina. Now, this workplace mangina, this guy is one of the worst, because this guy, he thinks and acts just like a dysfunctional female, and he's always looking to try to destroy other men in the workplace because he wants to sabotage those men, because he wants to come up at their expense. He does not want anybody to advance based on merit or hard work, but he wants to try to destroy men because he wants to make himself out to be the top man. But oftentimes, because this guy is emotional and acts and thinks just like a female, what he does is he winds up making a complete mess of whatever company he's in. Now, your workplace mangina, he's a big talker, but oftentimes he's a guy you will notice that in spite of his talk, he can never get anything done. So workplace manginas, these guys, they will come in dressed in these designer suits. They will come in with these designer shoes. Again, they put on a great visual attraction in front of you. But when you ask them, where's the work that needs to be done, they can't finish anything at all. So the mangina, he's an absolute nightmare to deal with. And whenever you deal with him, especially in a management position, he makes everybody's life miserable because he oftentimes double talks, he oftentimes tries to gaslight people, and he oftentimes tries to hide things. Tanya, I'm gonna get to that right now. The workplace mammy is also somebody else you need to look out for. And I've dealt with a fair share of workplace mammies myself. I mean, at City College, the workplace mammy I dealt with was one of these women who put on a pro-black veneer, but she was a mammy loyal to those white people in the workplace. And when this professor lied on me on that civil service job and said I was sleeping on the job, she went along with him. And if you are a black person in a workplace and you have to deal with a workplace mammy, this is somebody who can practically cost you your job, because if they back that white person up, what that happens is you have no legs to stand on. And Tiger wants to know what a mammy is. A mammy is someone who is so loyal to white people that they see them as gods and will go along with everything that they say. It's usually an older black woman, and this older black woman, she will go out of her way to defend whatever white bosses are there and literally try to destroy any black men in the workplace or any younger black women in the workplace, because she wants the de facto position of being the H nice in the workplace, and she will use whatever power is given to her by her white bosses to try to destroy any other black person in the workplace. And again, I ran into one of those at the City College of New York back in 2008. And she was the reason why I don't have a job today, because again, when you're a black man in a workplace and you have the workplace mammy and a white person and they are standing together, what happens is you wind up in a place where it's your word against theirs. And if there's something goes on, you are just going to be out due to this person. So when you see a workplace mammy, identify her immediately and start putting distance between yourself and this workplace mammy, because this workplace mammy, this woman is working behind the scenes insidiously to get you out of your job, because she does not want to see any other black person in that company, because that black person represents a threat to her pseudo power base. And because she has this power base, she does not want to lose that power with those white people. So she wants to destroy any other black person that is there. So your workplace mammy usually, again, is one of these older women, and she'll be sitting there buck dancing, bojangling, stepping, fetching, and she can put on a various array of disguises, whether it be like in my case, the pro-black female, the educated professional black woman. It's not all black women who are like this, because the younger sisters, they run into this too. They run into the hostility from her. And she just, again, is somebody who tries to bully all of the other black workers and tries to push them out of a job. And she will, like the workplace mangina, try to push you out of a job. Now, both of them, they are known for trying to bootlick bosses, and they will often try to talk bosses into getting you out of a job so that they can bring in their either sorry family members, like their Pookies and their Ray Rays. And again, both of them fear the idea of competing in the workplace. And what they want to do is make the workplace comfortable for them. And oftentimes when they make a workplace comfortable for them, they make it where it stops being a competitive business environment and it becomes a sort of social environment. And instead of people focusing on producing and setting goals, it's all about making people feel good. But businesses don't run on emotions. Businesses run on money. And the goal of a business is to make money. Thank you, Roland K. Armstrong, for the donation to the Super Chat. I really appreciate it. And if you guys want to donate to the Super Chat, you may do so as well. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, I would really appreciate it. I'm going to leave a link to that. I'll take any donation from $1 to anything that you've got, because that helps me keep the internet going, and it helps me continue to make videos like this. And hey, let's get the likes up. We got 60 in the chat. Let's get the likes up to at least 40 or 45, because I want to see you guys keep your jobs, because you need your jobs in order to make a living out here, and you need to be able to protect your jobs. And if you don't take care of your job, you won't have a way to take care of yourself, because your job is how you take care of your bills. It's how you feed yourself. It's how you clothe yourself. It's how you build whatever you have. So you have to take care of your job so that you can take care of yourself. And in order to take care of your job, again, you have to have your mindset in the right place, because if you get into it with the wrong people in the job, you're going to lose focus of what you need to be focused on. So when you're on these jobs, you have to have your mind in the right place. And the whole thing is, when you are in a workplace and you don't know how to keep your mind in the right place, you will wind up getting involved with these people as related to social stuff, because a lot of women, they love to use the social to distract you, and they like to use the social to get you emotional. And then once they get you distracted, what happens is, with a lot of women, they will then try to use information against you. And one of the things you have to watch out for a lot of females on the job is, a lot of them will try to be your friend. And that's a trick that you have to look out for, because a lot of times women will try to befriend you. But the reason why they're trying to befriend you is not because they like you. They are befriending you because they want to get information on you. Thank you, Kenneth L., for the donation to the Super Chat. I really appreciate it. If you guys want to donate to the Cash App, the Cash App is Cash App $ Sean S. James, and you can donate whatever you want over there. And you can also donate to the Patreon as well, because again, all that money is used to continue keeping me on the internet and doing shows like this. But again, you have to look out for the women in the workplace, because they make it look like they want to be friends with you. But a lot of times what they want to do is get information on you. And then once they get the information on you, they then start working on a plan to work against you. And I've seen that horror story go on numerous jobs where females, they will befriend someone, find out what they're about, and then start making plans to get that person out of their job and get them fired. So that's something that a lot of women like to do. And I know what Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare is talking about. Working with women, yeah, it's like working with the devil, because you don't know if you can trust them. And a lot of times, these women will sit there with a smile on their face, and they'll have a knife right behind their back, and they're looking to kill you in the workplace. And they'll be talking good to you to your face, and then going to the back to the boss, talking about what you're not doing, and they'll use that as a way to try to plot to get you out. And then after they get you out, then they're acting like they didn't do anything. So whenever you're dealing with women in the workplace, again, you want to minimize your contact with those women in the workplace. And what you want to do is not talk to them much at all. If it's not work related, you keep your mouth shut and you just make it all about work, because what they do is use information, and information is power to a woman. If she can't get any information, she can't get any power. What's going on, Steve Wallamack? Great to see you here. We're talking about how to keep your job and what you need to do to keep your job. And again, I went over some points, again, about navigating through your emotions, remaining indifferent, and dealing with these predators in the workplace and identifying them, like the mangina, the workplace simp, and some of these predatory females. And these predatory females, again, they are extremely dangerous. I put them on the same level as the workplace mangina. And you really have to watch out for these people because, again, they are a threat to your ability to make a living. Now, the worst part, some of them are like the women, female bosses. They are, what's going on, B, the great B, glad to see you here. The worst is of the females is the female bosses. Oh man, they are a nightmare in many cases. And again, these are women. A lot of times they're vindictive, and if you wind up leaving them and not on the terms they want, they will do things like trying to destroy your professional references and stuff. And they're a nightmare to deal with. And a lot of them, because they're emotional, they're very arbitrary about the standards, and think when you do work that's good for them, they don't appreciate it. They'll tell you it's wrong, even though it's right. They'll try to gaslight you. And the same thing with these manginas. They'll do the exact same thing. They'll try to gaslight you. Like I had one when I was working at Strive. He was trying to gaslight me and play games with me. And this is what they do. And the whole thing is they make your work experience worse than what it is. And again, you have to learn how to navigate through things to deal with these types of guys when you're in a workplace, because again, your goal is to keep making that living and continue to make that money. I mean, yeah, you have to deal with this person while you're there, but you have to learn how to work through those feelings and emotions so that you don't do something that hurts you. And if the workplace becomes untenable, what you need to do is start making your plans to leave that workplace, but you do it in a way where you have a job lined up at the end of the day. Don't let these people push you out, because if they push you out, you are leaving on their terms. And if you leave on their terms, what you will do is wind up losing a good job, and you'll also wind up losing any ability to get other jobs because you won't be able to use that company as a reference. So if you want to take care of your job, you have to have plans when you come into the company for what goals you want to achieve and accomplish, and then you have to have an exit strategy. And your main focus when you're on your job and you're taking care of it is focusing on what you want to accomplish. So, for example, let's say I'm a guy, I get my A+ certification, I get a job as an IT technician somewhere, and I'm there and I'm working, fixing computers and building network things. Now, my goal should be trying to learn about networking and getting a Net Plus certification and an internet security certification. And that should be my main focus in learning the skills and experience I need to pass that exam so that I can increase my skills. That should be your main focus when you get on a job. That should be the thing that drives you and motivates you to keep going to work every day, is going there to get the skills and the experience. And then once you get those skills and experience, and then get enough of those skills and experience to pass your Net Plus exam and your internet security exam, then you start making plans to exit that company and move on to the next company. That's what a smart person does as related to their job and taking care of their job. They take care of the business as related to that job until they finish what they want to accomplish. And then after they finish what they wanted to accomplish, they move on to the next company. Hey, Chris Brown, glad to see you here. Chris L. Brown is the creator of the Omega Black manga. And right now he has a Kickstarter going on as related to the Omega Black manga. And I'm going to leave a link to that right now. And he's trying to raise the funds to get this manga funded, and it's supposed to be the Guinness record for the world's largest manga. So I'm going to leave a link to that, and I hope you guys put in a pledge for that one. And I hope, because he's trying to get that one funded. And my Facebook friend Raymond Leonard, he's doing Agent Solo, and he's got 6 days going on Agent Solo, and he's trying to get his project funded. And he's getting that close to the finish line, and all he needs is a couple more pledges to get to the finish line. And with his Indiegogo, so please put in a pledge for that one. $5 will go a long way. You get the digital version of Agent Solo. And with Chris, you get, if you put in $5 or $10, you get the digital version of Omega Black manga. And again, both of those are great projects. But I'm going to get back to the topic again, which is how to take care of your job. Because again, taking care of your job will allow you to take care of yourself, and it'll allow you to be able to meet those goals in your life that you want to accomplish, whether it be building your, thank you, Kevin. You're welcome, Kevin. I'm glad to do this stream because I want to help guys keep their jobs, because as a guy who lost a job because I dealt with a workplace mammy, a very good job, I don't want to see anybody else lose their job because they don't know how to identify, workplace predators like mammies, manginas, simps, or get into it with women in the workplace. Because another way women want to get into it with you in the workplace is some of them want to call themselves having relationships with you on the job. And you never want to date any female at any workplace you're at, because when you get involved romantically with a female at a workplace where you're at, what happens is you put yourself in a dangerous situation where you wind up putting not only your job at risk in this era of Me Too, but also your career and your reputation at risk, and also your freedom at risk. So you don't want to ever get involved with females at your job and date them, because if that relationship gets sour, then that woman is definitely going to go to HR and file a sexual harassment claim against you. And if she files that claim, you are not only going to lose your job, but you're going to lose that reference, you're going to lose your career, and depending on how vindictive she is, you could wind up losing your freedom and having to deal with a criminal case. So stay away from women at the job. And one of the things you have to understand about women at the job oftentimes is the really incompetent ones, they will try to date women on the job. And what they will do is date the women at the women will try to date you at the job so they can avoid doing their work. So what they will do is, thank you, Jazzy Jerome, for the donation. I really appreciate it. They will date you on the job to avoid doing any work. And a lot of times these women will be on thin ice with their bosses. And a lot of times they will try to manipulate workplace simps into doing their work by throwing them their bodies and using their bodies to get attention from those guys and manipulating those guys with the attention and affection that they give them. And then what happens is they'll have these guys, going out here and doing their work for them. And that's what a lot of women will do on the job. They'll manipulate a guy they'll see that he's green, they'll see that he's new to the company, they'll start flirting with him, and then they'll start asking him to do their work. And then what happens is he's doing their work, they're collecting a paycheck for doing absolutely nothing, and then they're sitting there and they're getting a paycheck for free at your expense. And again, a lot of these women, they're not very good at their job. So what they do is they use their bodies to deflect from their lack of skills. And the same thing with a lot of these beta males out here. You have to watch out for them as well, because the beta male is, again, he's a real problem on the job, And this is a guy who he can cost people their jobs because he's just a really, really weak person. And this is a guy, he doesn't want to take charge of anything. He doesn't want to stand up. And the worst ever thing you could ever experience in a job is a beta male manager. I mean, next to a female manager, the beta male manager is the worst. And I had to work with a beta male manager back in 2008. And the beta male manager is bad in a job because this is a man who does not have any leadership ability, and he avoids conflict. And if you are avoiding conflict, you're not going to survive in the workplace, because conflict is what a business is all about, and conflict has to be solved. Thank you, Jonathan Neal, for the donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Jazzy Jerome, again, for the donation. Really appreciate it. And again, really appreciate all the donations, because I use them for projects, and I also use them for supporting other projects like Chris L. Brown's Omega Black or Raymond Leonard's Agent Solo. Um, and again, the workplace manager is the work beta male in the workplace. This is also another terrible manager that a lot of people have to deal with. And I dealt with a beta male manager again. And again, these guys hate conflict. They hate having to deal with conflict. And oftentimes that prevents them from being able to teach, mentor, and support their coworkers, because oftentimes these guys are just, they spend most of their time hiding in an office, avoiding problems. And because they avoid problems, what happens is a workplace becomes very difficult to work with, and the work environment problems escalate because this person won't step up to solve them. And a lot of those problems are very easy to solve if this guy or this woman, well, really this guy, because he's a beta male, he would come out of his office and deal with it. But instead, what this guy does is he creates a codependent relationship with the females in the workplace. He will designate one, his de facto manager. He'll give them a false manager title, and he'll have her running the business or department that he's in. And this woman will be in over her head because she doesn't know anything about business. She doesn't know anything about management. But because he wants to make her his surrogate mommy in the workplace, he gives her all of this power, but she can't handle that power because she's not responsible for anything there. And when you're in a work environment where you have a beta male in charge, it can be very frustrating to deal with. Thank you, Wrestling Superstar 83, for the donation. I really appreciate it. It can be frustrating because you're coming to the workplace to learn, you're coming to the workplace to get skills, and you're coming to the workplace to get things done, but you can't get things done because what happens is this guy is hiding in his office until 5 o'clock, and you can't get any sort of discussion with this guy. And the females, they are trying to run things, and they don't know how to run anything because they're in over their head. And it's a frustrating environment to be in because you can't get any leadership, guidance, or support, and you can't get any experience like you want to get. And even worse with these beta males is that when they see another man in the workplace, these guys will start to get jealous of another man because they fear competing with that other man. And as they fear competing with that other man, what they will do is try to undermine that man, try to sabotage that man. And all of this type of behavior, again, it can really mess with your ability to make a living because you're trying to come here to get work experience and get skills. But this guy is, again, so in his feelings about having to deal with another man that what he will do is sabotage that man and focus all of his attention on trying to destroy that other man instead of staying in his lane and focusing on getting himself to the next level. And this is the other big problem with your beta males in jobs, is that they come to jobs to be comfortable. And when you're dealing with a guy who comes to work to be comfortable, he creates a work environment where nothing ever grows. Now, when you go to work, again, you are going there to make a living, to take care of yourself. You are coming there to learn and gain new skills and experience. And you are coming there to develop and expand yourself and actualize your potential in the workplace and be able to maximize your ability to make a living. But your beta male, when he comes into the workplace, and some of the females, they get this nesting mindset and they want everything to stay the same and they want to stay comfortable. Unfortunately, in the business world, if you come into a workplace and you aren't looking to grow, what's going to happen is you're going to become obsolete. And what's going to happen is your business is going to get replaced by another business. And people who nest, they don't want the business to change. They want the business to stay the same. But every day there are new approaches to business coming. There are new models for business coming, and there are new methods. And any smart business person, they're going to want to stay on top of their skills so they can keep them sharp. But your beta male and some of these females, they want to stay in the same place doing the exact same thing. And them staying there, again, this prevents you from being able to keep your job long term, because what happens is you wind up in a company that's going nowhere. You wind up with outdated skills. And then when that company winds up going out, what happens is that you wind up not being able to be employable for another employer. So beta males, they are really bad. And again, when you are trying to take care of your job, you have to identify the beta males and females in the job like this who want to be nesting and comfortable, and plot a course to get away from them and their habits, because their habits are extremely toxic, and their toxic habits and way of thinking, if you allow that to get into your mindset, you're going to get nowhere when the problem is. Kevin, you make a good point about 20-plus-year-old workers with cell phones, but the problem with that is they don't understand that these kids grew up with their cell phones as a way of life. Now, when it comes down to cell phones, the problem is that managers don't know how to lead with those workers and teach them about the workplace. Now, the job I worked at Strive East Harlem Employment Service, we dealt with those type of behaviors, and you have to teach kids that, okay, this is a place of work, this is a place of business, and this is not the place for people to be on cell phones. Our primary focus needs to be the customer. Our primary focus needs to be the client. And if you're looking at a cell phone, this is disrespect to that customer, and that this is disrespect to them, because you are not giving them your full attention, and you are not showing that customer or that client the respect they deserve when they enter a workplace. So anybody who's leading is going to sit down and tell them, well, look, would you want somebody to looking at a cell phone when you are trying to get something done, and let them understand that that would be disrespectful to you if somebody did it to you. So that's why you don't do it to the customer. And you have your cell phone, and you don't need to have this right now. I mean, if you want to have your cell phone on the break, perfectly fine, but the cell phones go into the lockers, or they're turned off when we are on the floor. Because I remember going to jury duty, they would confiscate your cell phone if you had it out there and were talking to people. But a lot of people, again, they're not being trained with soft skills or business skills to anything, because there's not many people leading out here. And a leader, he's going to sit down and explain this to you. Look, I don't want to fire you for this, but I'm going to let you know what the rules are for these cell phones. And if I see you with this cell phone, the first time is a warning, the second time is a write-up, and the third time is a termination. And that's just how it's going to be when you're on a job. Because if you have those types of policies, people will get with them. Yeah, they will be upset in the beginning, because some people are wedded to their cell phones. But if you create policy that helps them take care of their job, and you also sit down and tell them that, look, if you want to pay this bill, you need this job, and you need to take care of this job. And if taking care of this job means, being away from this phone for a couple of hours, I would rather be away from this phone for a couple of hours and have this job to pay the bill, rather than have no money and then have this phone that I have to run to a library and, be able to use, because I can't afford any sort of service. So sometimes you have to connect the logic with some of these youngsters to understand that this job is going to enable you to have the money to be able to do things, the money to be able to take care of yourself, and the money to be on the cell phone after all. Because again, 8 hours away from Facebook, Instagram, and talking to people online, that's nothing compared to having no money for your basics like haircuts, basics like deodorant, basics like soap, and basics, that allow you to take care of yourself. And you are coming to this job because you need the money to be able to take care of yourself and be able to work and pay your bills. So that when you're on a job, again, taking care of that job means some sacrifice. And I would rather make a small sacrifice of something that I like doing and not doing it for a while in order to be able to do it later on. Now, I'm a guy, I love writing and I love writing stories, but if I had a full-time job, I would be willing to put that to the side so that I could make that living making money. So I like things. Again, I like television as well, but I have to put that to the side and I have to let that go for a while in order to make the money to be able to pay things like the internet bills and the cable bills. And those are the type of sacrifice. Again, a father sits down and teaches his son that, okay, you may like this, but how are you going to pay for it? And the only way you're going to pay for it is if you have this job and you take care of this job. Because again, this job is going to allow you to take care of you. And if it means letting something go in the short, then and having a better life in the long, that's a fair sacrifice that you're going to have to make. And sometimes you have to make these sacrifices if you want to keep making a living. And yeah, they may be painful to do, but it's something that you're going to have to do if you want to keep making money out here. Now, this is something, again, a lot of youngsters, they're not getting this type of advice. And this is why they wind up getting fired for having cell phones or things like that. It shouldn't be, because all it takes, again, is a manager being a leader. And that's a big problem I'm seeing with a lot of companies is we don't have a lot of managers leading and giving those kids the guidance that they need to understand that part of keeping a job is making sacrifices. And sometimes you can have to make a sacrifice so that you can keep the money flowing in your home. So that's also part of taking care of a job, is understanding that, sometimes you have to let go of things in the short term in order to gain things in the long term. And sometimes you have to lose things in the short term in order to gain things in the long term. So a lot of times people, they're not getting this. And again, that's why they have a hard time keeping jobs, because they want to get instant gratification. They want to get it now. And they want to have the workplace cater to them, but workplaces don't cater to you. Again, remember, you are hired to do work for the owner, and the owner is the one who is benefiting from your labor. So they're hiring you to do a job. You're not hiring them, and you don't own anything there again. So that's why you need to remain indifferent and say, look, okay, he wants me to do this while I'm here for these 8 hours or these 9 hours. I will do what he wants in that 8 hours or 9 hours, because in the scheme of things, this 8 hours or 9 hours is nothing compared to my whole day. So this is something that you really can let go so you can get the money to do the things that you really want to do. For example, I wanted to publish books, so I'm willing to sit there in an office and do whatever business that needs to be done to get the money for that books to get published. So I'll do that to get one thing, but the whole thing is that a lot of guys aren't learning how to do that, and that's why they can't take care of the jobs that they have. Yeah, and I will agree, Jonathan and Brother Cap. Yeah, you do need multiple sources of income, because you do need multiple sources, but the first source should be your full-time job. And again, that's the foundation you use to build the other sources of income. For example, when I was working on civil service, I was using that to start building the foundation for the SJS Direct imprint. And you do need that to be your base, and then you use that base to build other platforms of income. So any smart person, they're going to say, okay, I'm going to take care of my job. My job is going to be my core foundation for my stability. When I have a full-time job, this is going to pay the basic bills for my rent, my light and gas, and if I have a home, my mortgage. It's going to pay for my cars. This is going to pay for everything that I need, cable, internet, my phone. All that's going to be paid for with the full-time job. And then I'm going to have these side incomes, like, for example, like what I have with the SJS Direct imprint, where I publish books like The Man Crisis, which is available on Amazon.com right now in paperback and Kindle formats, and Smashwords in the iBookstore. or books like John Haynes' Dark Succubus, Esteem Goddess of, Isis All That Glitters. All these books, they are paid again with the donations I get from Patreon, PayPal, and Cash App. The covers are paid for with that. And again, these are the secondary revenue streams for me. And again, this is what pays for that. But the whole thing is that your secondary revenue streams are financed through your primary revenue stream until they start making enough money to cover themselves. And then after they make enough money to cover themselves, you start focusing on other revenue streams. But every one of the revenue streams has a base, and the base. Lauren, you can get the books right there on Amazon.com. I'm gonna leave a link to the my official page right now. You can get my books on Amazon, and all of them are available with the 2019 catalog. And there's other books from 2016, 2017. I've been at this since 2009. I just celebrated the 10th anniversary of SJS Direct. And just this year, so I celebrated the 10th anniversary of SJS Direct. So I've been publishing for over 10 years now. And this was something, again, that I built from, my revenue streams from the job that I had when I had it, and I wish I still had it, because, again, the more revenue streams you have, the stronger base you have. Okay, I left a few of my books, but there are other books on Amazon, and they are in paperback and Kindle formats. And all of those books, again, are available on Amazon, but I wouldn't have had that money to do them without the job I had many years ago, or the donations from viewers like you. And again, all the support that I get from you helps me get those books out there. What's happening to you, Chris, is you're running into the jealousy from coworkers, because a lot of coworkers, when they see a guy out here doing his thing and building himself up, some of them get jealous because they don't want to put that effort into anything, so they want to try to tear you down, and they want to try to make you feel bad about you working on the side. But you working on the side is what you're supposed to do, because the ultimate goal of a job is to start your own business and be self-sufficient. And again, these people, they see you online doing manga and traveling to cons, but they don't understand that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to invest in yourself, because your job is supposed to be a foundation for you investing in yourself. And again, you're taking care of your job so that you can go out here and have the capital to invest in yourself, whether it be buying a home to get equity, or going out here and working on business projects. Your ultimate goal is, again, to have that capital to eventually leave that job and start your own business. So them labeling you a capitalist sounds like just plain old jealousy, because these people don't want to go out here and put the effort into improving themselves or working on themselves. And that I've run into that myself, again, quite a few times at various jobs. And again, these are just jealous people. They see a good man out here, focusing on himself. Thank you, Levi, for the review. I'm glad you enjoyed The Man Crisis. Thank you, Lauren, for the donation. I really appreciate that donation. That's a big one. Thank you very much. But Chris, you're working hard, and they're just jealous of seeing your brother working hard and, working on getting his own thing, but you're supposed to work on getting your own thing. Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare, dress code, I've run into that when I was working at Strive, and that's something that the managers need to do. And again, when you have a weak manager in charge, he does not impose standards on people. And a good manager, he's going to impose standards because he wants a professional image for the business, because the business is being represented by his workers. And when you have people coming into work wearing jeans and leggings. It's very unprofessional. It's very lazy. And again, it comes from a weak manager. A strong manager, he's going to come in and say, look, like when I was watching Gordon Ramsay on 24 Hours to Hell and Back on Wednesday, and he was talking about things, and same thing he talks about in Hell's Kitchen about standards. And the whole thing is, if you really care about your business and you're passionate about your business, you're going to want things to be on a consistent level. You're going to want things to be high quality, and you're going to want to have a bar that everybody meets. I mean, if I was having an SJS Direct office, I would have a dress code. I mean, I want my employees to be professional looking because they're not only representing me, they're also representing the business, they're representing themselves. And when you're out here, it's a reflection on the business and yourself when you go out here and put on your best clothes and you go out here and you are out here. Because when I go out, I always put on a nice shirt. I always try to make sure it's ironed. Always try to make sure that my pants, whether they be, slacks or jeans, are nicely pressed and clean, nice clean shoes. You want to go out there and leave a strong impression on people, because that impression on people is the thing that's going to wind up leading to them wanting to go out here and either support your product or tell people about your product, or them remaining silent about your product, or even worse, bad mouthing your product. And when you have people wearing leggings and jeans to work and they're all sloppy looking, what that does is it really does not leave an impression on people as related to the product. So, that's why I'm always wearing at the live streams, I'm always putting on, my best shirts. Even when I'm doing videos, my best shirts on, because I want to leave a good impression on you, the viewer, because I want you to understand that, yeah, this may be me making videos, but this is work for me. It's professional for me, and it's how I take care of business. And I want you to know that I'm serious about what I'm doing. So I look at, people who come to work like that. And again, it shows me that this is a person who has no passion for their work. They really don't care about their work, and they don't have a standard for themselves. And if you put that person on your job, they're not going to have a standard for their work. And that's somebody, again, that's not somebody who I want to take care of my business, because they can't take care of themselves. And if they can't take care of themselves, they can't take care of business at my job. And again, when you take care of your job, part of that is making sure that, your appearance is rock solid. You're constantly getting your haircuts, you're getting your clothes clean, keeping your hygiene up, because you're out here with the client and you want to leave strong first impression on the client. But these are all things that, again, are about taking care of your job, and you need to take care of yourself in a job. And again, I've run into that at the workplace too, those sloppy people. And even worse, I ran into people like Chris ran into, a lot of jealous people. They see you building and they want to tear you down because you're building. And the whole thing is, you are building. That's what you're supposed to do on a job, is build. You're supposed to go out here and, you got this job at this company. And even if you're making 80,000, 90,000, 100,000, you're still supposed to be out here building your own thing, because you need to build your own thing. And it also has something to do with job security, but it also has to do with what you want to do for yourself. I mean, I would be building, if I had a full-time job right now, I would still be building the SJS Direct imprint, because it's part of my passion of writing, and it's something that I love. And I know that there are guys out there who are into cars and stuff. They build cars on their weekends, and that's building as well. They're not building that car just because they like cars. They also build it because they want to get value out of that finished product, and they want to be able to have something at the end of the day that has value. So when you go out here and you're working, like Chris is working on his manga, he's working on something that he wants to build value for himself and build wealth in the future. And again, the beta males and some of the females in these workplaces, all they want to do is be comfortable, and they get jealous of people who are building, and they want to tear those people down because they want to be comfortable, because they fear that if this person builds something successful, people are going to look back at them and ask them, Well, why couldn't you do that? Because these are the same people who will sit there and complain, oh, I'm not getting any promotions. I'm not advancing in the company. But the reason why you are not advancing in the company is because you're not putting any effort into anything. So this is the same person who will sit there and complain, oh, this guy is he's building a business on the side, but he's supposed to do that. Yeah, writing a piece of music is building. When you're out here and you're working on your music, anything that you're working on is building. Anything that you're working on for yourself, is building. When I go out here and publish these books, this is building. This is a tangible product. At the end of the day, you are working on something tangible that you're designing to make money for yourself outside of the job, and you're designing something that you can move yourself forward with. So that's building. And people will sit there and they'll try to tear you down. And again, they want to kick you off the job because they're jealous. And the reason why they want to do that, again, is because they don't know how to build themselves, and they want to stay in this smooth world where all they depend on is this job. But you're not just supposed to just depend on the job. I mean, again, the job is the start of your foundation to building those revenue streams, and you keep the job as a platform for building. Luciano, starting a platform, that's a nonprofit, that's building as well. So if you want to do a platform, you are starting a nonprofit. Again, it's building, and all of it is something that you want to do. Again, that's why you want to keep your job. You keep your job so that you can go out here and do the things that you want to do, and you want to do the things you want to accomplish. And again, you have to protect your job out here, because with your job, again, is how you're going to have that foundation to do the things you need to do. So you have to take care of your job so that it can take care of you. And you have to, again, get control of those external enemies that I discussed. And you also have to get control of the internal enemies inside of yourself. And I've talked about that in a classic video called Internal and External Enemies of the Job for Black Men. But it applies to everyone, I would say, because, things like your social anxiety, things like depression, things like fear, these are things that can wind up undermining you and leading to you quitting a good job and winding up losing a good job that could have built up a great career for you. And you have to overcome fear when you're out here, because that fear can prevent you from, moving to the next level. Because a lot of times I run into a lot of Black guys, they get on the job and they start getting afraid because they run into these family members who get jealous and try to sabotage you. There are people out here, who have to deal with, they want to undermine you because they see you moving ahead. And then there are people who just get jealous and they don't want to see you again and your family come up. And again, when you start a job, you're going to run into a lot of people not supporting you, but you just have to hang in there. Because a lot of people, they don't like seeing you change, and they want to see you stay in the same place. Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. Yeah, I remember working in customer service myself when I was working as a receptionist, and I just fell apart because I was an introvert and I had social anxiety, and it really messed me up really bad. But then when I got the job working at the circulation desk, I managed to really deal with that anxiety finally. But I know how bad it is when you're trying to talk to people over the phone, because at the law firm I was working at, what happened was the guy thought I was being hostile because I was using the voice that I'm using right now. He thought I was being a hostile, angry Black man. And that hurt me so bad. I couldn't speak for a good, about 5-6 years. It happened to me back then because a lot of these people, they don't understand that, everybody talking, sometimes you're not being mean, you're just talking. And this is what happens to a lot of people. I ran into that myself, again, in customer service. And it's something it's something I had to work through. And when I was working in the library, I had finally worked through it. And then when I was doing YouTube videos, I finally overcame it. So I understand social anxiety. I'm an introvert myself. And it's something that it can be improved again with a good manager and good support where you get encouragement. But if you have a bad manager, it can give you a severe complex like I had for a good 7-8 years where I just couldn't talk at all. So I know where that is, in customer service. And on top of it, dealing with the unruly customers or the rude customers, it can really, it can really, it can really hold you back. I mean, I remember having anxiety attacks and panic attacks, on the first days of my job at the circulation desk, and just trying to work through that because I was just so afraid of messing up and afraid of talking. And it can happen to anyone. So I know where you're coming from because I actually had to deal with that myself. And I've also had to deal with it during job interviews. And the thing that would frustrate me in some job interviews is they want everybody to be this extrovert, and everybody isn't an extrovert. And I understand that there's a value to introverted people. Um, we're some of the best thinkers. We don't talk a lot, but when we do speak, it has an impact. So I understand that, and I understand where you're coming from. Um, but part of keeping your job is it's something that, yeah, you have to work through it. And these managers, again, they don't really give you the support that you need. If you have a good boss, he's going to give you the support, and he's going to sit down and work with you through it and help you work through it, because he understands that you're going to be an investment to the company. You're going to be an asset to the company. Because introverts they can be a major contributor to a company if you invest the money and time into them and give them the support. They can really take the company to the next level. But a lot of people, they want people to be loud and emotional. And again, those are the type of people who can hurt a business long term, because they act and think on impulse and don't think critically before they speak. But oftentimes, again, when you're trying to keep a job and you're an introvert, it can be very hard because people will misunderstand you. They'll be like, oh, this person's aloof. This person's a lot of times you're not being distant. A lot of times you are struggling with anxiety and stuff. And that's something you're trying to deal with when they don't understand it, because they want everybody they want everybody to be extroverts and all be the same, but we're not all the same. I don't take anything for anxiety. I just try to work through it, David. So that's just what I try to do. Um, if you have to use the bathroom a lot, again, the manager cannot get upset about that, because with the American with Disabilities Act, Scotchka, you have rights to do that. I mean, you going to the bathroom, if that's part of a medical condition, they're supposed to accommodate you, and they have to. So that's just part of it. I mean, that's part of it, is they have to accommodate you. And yeah, I've dealt with anxiety for years. It's just something I have had to deal with. So I understand where a lot of people are coming from. And again, as a manager, you're supposed to coach people, but a lot of times these days, a lot of managers don't coach people. And because they don't coach people, what happens is they work against themselves and they wind up turning over. And when you turn employees over, that doesn't allow the business to grow, because again, you're losing momentum because everybody is off the same page. And when everybody's off the page, then it's hard to keep for the business to move forward. So a lot of times, again, when you are protecting a job and taking care of a job, you need to take care of your people. And that's something I don't see a lot of managers doing with employees these days, is taking care of people. And again, you can't keep somebody from going to the bathroom, again, because American with Disabilities Act says a person needs to be accommodated reasonably in a workplace. So if they come to you with that, you tell them about the American with Disabilities Act, which again, they have to accommodate you within reason. And I've seen companies try to abuse people, but you have to go out of your way to let them know that you know the law. And if they try to do something like fire you, you can actually sue them for, violating your rights. I mean, the whole thing with the bathroom problems is what they do is they try to do that to control people. But the whole thing is that's a sign of a really insecure manager. Again, if you're a good manager, you're going to make sure that there's enough staff on hand that if somebody has to replace somebody or somebody has to take a break, that you can cycle through those people. But a lot of these companies, they're so cheap, they don't want to pay for those people. And that's the big problem. I mean, if somebody has to step away from the desk for a minute, that's not a real problem for me, because if somebody can fill in, not a problem. And even if it happens, as a manager, it's my job to step in and make sure that the company flows because I'm supposed to look out for those people. So there are female predators again. Yeah, women in the workplace. Some of them are a problem in some cases, but there are some women of all races who are like that in the workplace. You're at, I run into all sorts, and again, they a lot of them are they get caught up in their power. They get hopped up on their power, and then they try to abuse people in the workplace because they're emotional. They get in their feelings about the power that they have, and then they use that to bully, harass, and intimidate people in the workplace. And that's a big problem with a lot of females in the workplace. And it can lead to you winding up in trouble as related to trying to keep your job because you're trying to do your work. But because this person's so emotional, they get personal and it's all about hurting the other person. And that can make it a bit of a challenge in trying to keep a job. But in that case, if the woman gets too difficult and out of control, you have to try to, bear your cross until you get the next job and then move on to that next job. But the whole thing is you never leave a job unless you have a job lined up, and you never walk out of a workplace, quitting on your feelings. Because if you quit, what happens is the bullies in the workplace win. You wind up losing your ability to make a living, and if the worst comes to worst, you can't qualify for unemployment. If they want to get you out, let them let you go, and make sure that it's no reason as related to your fault so that you can collect your unemployment that you paid into, and you can then move on in your career. So you want to really protect yourself, overall, but don't get into it with people on the job. Don't get into it with bosses on the job. Just try to do what you need to do. As long as they're not asking you to do anything that's illegal or anything as related to something violent, just try to take care of your business and, save your capital, save your money. That's another thing. You really need to save your money because a lot of people, they wind up blowing their money, and that's not something you want to do. You want to start building a budget as related to your transportation costs, your cleaning costs, your rent, your, electricity and gas, and your car, maintenance. Make sure you build a budget for that, and then after that, save as much money as you can, and make sure you have a savings for an emergency, like if you get laid off or you get injured. Make sure you have a budget for that, because as part of keeping your job is using the money you get from it to take care of yourself, and making sure that you protect your money so that your money can also take care of you. So you want like 3 separate budgets. You want one to take care of you, one for investment, and you want one for emergency. And yeah, Wednesday, you make a good point. Yeah, you got to keep your head on a swivel, keep your conversations to a minimum, and yeah, definitely avoid your workplace drama, because the workplace drama can be the thing that leads to you winding up getting emotional and winding up with you making a irrational decision to do something like resign from a company before you meet whatever financial goals you have for what you're trying to do. And so again, that's really great advice. Yeah, because you need to focus on those goals. You just can't get into it with people on the job. You just can't get into it with people, because if you leave, they're still going to be making money. They're still going to be on this job, but you're going to be the big loser. And that was a lesson I learned back in 2000 when this mangina was starting with me, and I was about to leave AmeriCorps, but then I went to Kmart the following Saturday, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to be able to go to places like Kmart and be able to shop if I continue to get into it with this beta male chump, and he's going to sit there and still be a way to make money for himself, but I won't be able to make money for myself and be able to start moving myself forward. But that's a lesson, again, I learned back in 2000, but it's a lesson I like to teach other people, because a lot of times these guys, they want to push buttons, they want to agitate you, they want to push you out of the workplace because they are insecure about you being there and having to actually compete, and their way of competing is to sabotage other people because they can't stay in their lane because they know they don't have the skills to actually be a competitive individual. Oftentimes these individuals, they are extremely mediocre, and what they want to do is push people out so they can have their smooth world where they can be comfortable in their mediocrity. But as for yourself, you can't really worry about them. You have to focus on you, and you have to focus on taking care of your job so that you can take care of you. And you have to start, as you're setting a course for the goals you want to accomplish, start trying to find a way to identify these toxic people. And once you identify these toxic people, you then start making plans to avoid these people or minimize your contact with those people so that they cannot destroy your way to making a living, destroying your professional reputation, or destroying your career, or in some cases, even destroying your freedom. Because if these people can get you so emotional that you wind up being, sadly, like that guy who I read about, who threw away an $82,000 NYCHA city job, then you're the one who winds up losing at the end of the day, because the same supervisor, again, who this guy had issues with, he's still going to be, after he recovers from the bullet wounds, going to come back to that job. He's going to finish out his 20 years and he's going to get his retirement. Meanwhile, this guy who shot that manager, he's on his, if they find him, he's on his way to prison, and he's going to be there for a good 15 to 20 years. And he lost his 10 years of seniority at that good job because he didn't have the life skills to understand how to take care of a job. Because again, you have to take care of a job once you get it, because once you take care of the job will allow you to be able to take care of your bills, have the capital to be able to start doing things like buying a home and starting a business, and have the capital to maintain a lifestyle that allows you to take care of yourself and your family. As far as I know, JKM 87, J87, he still is a fugitive. They said he fled in a Chevrolet Tahoe, I think a beige one, and they haven't captured him yet. But the sad part is, this man had issues for many years. I mean, he had this job around the same time I got my civil service job in 2008. He had 10 years, over 10 to 11 years of seniority, and he threw it all away because of his feelings. I mean, he had been written up on numerous occasions, and instead of him thinking about the big picture as related to taking care of his job, he got in his feelings, and his feelings cost him everything as related to a good life. I mean, I look at the job that man had, and if I had that type of making that type of money, I could care less about whatever the supervisor is doing, because I know at the end of the day, I'm going to be going home to a good salary, and I'm going to be going home. I'm going to be able to pay for different things and different business ventures. So I'm going to have revenue streams I'm focused on, not this dude and my feelings related to this dude. I have other things to focus on and other goals I want to focus on, so that, yeah, I'll do this job, I'll do whatever he wants, but I'm going to keep my mouth shut, mind my business. If he wants me to work overtime, cool, I'll do work overtime. If he wants me to, pick up garbage, I'll pick up garbage. No problem. I'll do whatever he wants, because at the end of the day, as long as the check clears, I'm going to be cool with it, because my goal is not to be be in this guy's good graces. My goal is to make this paper and get paid so that I can maintain my lifestyle and maintain my life. Because once I leave this workplace, the thing that I'm focused on is my life and my family, and that's what everybody needs to focus on. And that's why you want to take care of your job, so that you can focus on your life outside of this job. Because a big problem I'm seeing a lot of people these days is that they get too emotionally invested in these jobs. And when you're emotionally invested in a job, again, that's not a good thing to be, because when you're emotionally invested, you wind up taking things too personal, you wind up getting into it with people, and you wind up destroying your way to make a living. And this is something that I see as related to the gynocentric workplace, people wanting people to be emotionally invested. Um, and it's a real problem. I'm C-Man. It would depend on what type of screenplay it is, but the price would vary. But the starting price would probably be about maybe $5,000 to $10,000, depending on what the material is about as related to a screenplay. It's not going to be cheap because I know that screenplays are sold, and I also would ask for a percentage if you sell it to somebody else. So the commission price would be, again, starting 5 to 10,000 for a screenplay, like and all about Maryland. And again, you would have to look at my work if you wanted to, look at a screenplay. I'll leave a link to All About Maryland so that people can get a sense of my screenwriting ability. Again, I have screenwriting experience. Haven't written one in a while, but I've written a couple. But you can pick up All About Maryland to get a sense of my storytelling, but it's not cheap. So it takes a lot of work to write a screenplay. So you have to take care of your job again, and that was a sad part, Tanya. He had union job, pension that was vested, and he got in his feelings. And again, $82,000 pension, union, he threw it all away because he didn't know how to take care of a job. Now, he had been there for, again, 10 years going back and forth with people. And again, because he didn't have those male life skills like my father taught me and my brother taught me, about how to take care of a job. This is why this guy wound up doing what he did, and why we have guys who do things like participate in that workplace violence, because they don't understand how to take care of a job and they don't know how to navigate through their emotions, and they don't know how to control themselves. Oh, I'm definitely not going to be like Tyler Perry, D. Woodward. You hire writers and you have to take care of them. But the whole thing is, you don't want to lose something. Again, your job can take care of you if you take care of it. And if you take care of your job, it can reap you a bounty overall. Again, because you're putting seeds in for the future with your job. You're investing in yourself very slowly. And yeah, it may not pay in the short term, but it's going to pay off in the long term. So that's what you want to do with your job. And again, some of these jobs, they may have tasks you don't like doing. You may have bosses you don't like, but you have to focus on your long-term goals at the end of the day. I remember my job stocking shelves at the Food Emporium back in 96, 97. I mean, I had a boss who was a jerk and he wanted to get into it with different people, but I left him alone and focused on what I wanted to get at that time, which was the first Sony PlayStation. And I put my feelings aside because I wanted to get that PlayStation. Now, that may seem like a silly goal to some people, but back in my early 20s, that was something that I thought was a big thing. And I wanted to get that, so I focused on that. Now, when I went to AmeriCorps, my focus was on my books and getting a book published and getting writing experience and learning about grant writing and things like that. So I oftentimes would learn how to, set aside my feelings for other people or getting into it with other people so that I could focus on the goals that I want to accomplish. So if you have a job and you're dealing with difficult people and people with bad attitudes and stuff like that, and all sorts of crazy workplace drama, always remember the goal you want to accomplish. Always remember the goals that you set for yourself, and always set some goals for yourself, because it's those goals that will keep you motivated on a job, and it's those goals that will keep you pushing when you're in a difficult situation. So always think about what you want to accomplish, what goals you have for yourself, because your goal shouldn't just be, getting emotionally invested in this company and becoming, part of this company. It should always be something that you want to do and accomplish in your personal life, and the job should be working towards investing in it. Because again, they're investing in you when they hire you, and you are investing in yourself when you're working for them. You're not working for them just to do tax for them. You are working for them to get capital so that you can invest in yourself. And that's something I want everybody to take from this live stream is when you go to work, you are investing in yourself, and every dollar that you get from the job should be something that you put something to the side towards investing in yourself. Because investing in yourself, again, you're putting a little away for now in order to pay for something later or work towards something later. And that something later is something greater you should be focused and working on. So that's what you do when you're in a job. And again, that's part of how you keep a job is focusing on those long-term goals, and setting long-term goals can help you keep a job, that most people would wind up quitting in a week or 3 weeks or a year or 2 years, because you're focused on what you want to do, and you're not there because you are just working for these people. You are there because you are working for you. And that's what I always did whatever job I took. I was not just there to do the labor for that company, and I would try to do that labor to the best of my ability, but I was always working for myself. And that's what you need to do when you are on one of these jobs, is start focusing on working for you, because that's the main reason why you are at that job, is to work for you and work for what you want to accomplish, at that job. That's something you want to do for yourself. And again, you are your own employer at the end of the day. I'm glad to hear you do that, Ringo, because I know you could add a lot of great advice as related to that, because you've been a working man for a long time. What's going on, Ringo? I'm doing a live stream trying to teach people how to take care of their job, because I saw a lot of incidents in the news of people, messing up good jobs. Like, again, I'm talking about that guy. He had an $82,000 a year, NYCHA housing job, and he shot his boss over his feelings, and he cost himself a good vested union job and benefits. And it was just sad to see. And I also saw, a couple other black men who threw away good jobs at the, what was it? One guy at Wells Fargo threw away a good job, and another guy at UPS threw away a good job. Again, good jobs with benefits, and you got to take care of your job. And this is something, again, a lot of guys aren't getting. And then what they're doing is they're messing up good jobs that they could practically retire from. And those jobs are very rare, and you got to take care of that type of work if you hope to have something long term. I mean, a lot of these guys, they're getting in their feelings, they're getting personal, and nobody got killed, Killer SI. Just the guy shot his boss. And again, $82,000. When you think about it, house, he could have bought. He had a nice Tahoe and everything, and he messed up, a very, very good job. And you just don't do that, especially when you get one of those real good city jobs. You just don't do that. It's like you can't get in your feelings and lose, a good job like that. I mean, if I had that job and he was getting 10 years vested, whatever they do, you just do it. So you just do it. You'd be like, okay, I'm gonna do what you want, and then I'm gonna come back here with this cash, and I'm gonna use that cash to go build. So that's what I've been talking about, because I see, again, a lot of guys, they ain't getting that advice. And again, this is what my father taught me, about 20, 25 years ago. He taught me how to take care of a job, and this is something you have to do in society. And a lot of guys not getting take care of a job, put your feelings to the side and stack this paper and, save this money so that you can go out here and build your businesses, build, your home, take care of your family, build your family. This is what you do with your money. But a lot of black men, they're just not, and not only black men, but men in general and women in general, they're just not getting this advice, and they definitely need this advice. And I think Ringo could, he could expand on things because he's been in the job market just like I have, and he has that experience. So it's something that guys have to learn and girls have to learn, that, you take care of that job. I mean, you have to take care of it. And once you take care of it, you are going to benefit in the long run. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up this stream because I got someplace to go tomorrow morning, and I wanted to get this stream in before I had to go to bed, before I, go to take care of that business tomorrow morning. So I want to thank everybody for coming out to the stream. And if you want to donate to the Cash App again, you can donate to the Cash App by clicking the link in the chat. And Luciano asks, does the workforce have bigger expectations, the lower income class? Well, you can't really you just go to work and mind your business, and that's all. You don't worry about other people's expectations. Again, you're working for yourself. At the end of the day, thank you, Ringo. I'm hoping to get to because I got someplace to go, but I hope your live stream is great and you can add more on it, because I know you can expand on it because you've had a job for a long time. But if you guys want to donate to the Patreon, you can donate to the Patreon as well. So, and I would really appreciate it if you guys would come out and pick up some of the books on the SJS Direct imprint, like All About Marilyn, John Haynes' Dark Succubus, Isis, All That Glitters, Eastine, Goddess of, and The Man Crisis. And I'm gonna put a link to all of my books on Amazon. You can pick them all up in paperback and Kindle formats. And I thank you all for coming to the stream, and I hope you'll be there for next week's stream. All right, thank you, Ringo, for the donation. I really appreciate it.